everyone, how are you guys doing today? I hope you guys watched my life update video that I just shared, and that will tell you why I have been missing for 3 months. But before I went MIA, I shared complete swatches of this Natasha Denona Sunrise Palette with you guys. And if you remember that, I think I mentioned in that video that when I was doing the swatches, I was kind of feeling like I have seen this before. I have seen these shades before, and I went back to my collection and did a ton of swatches, and I realized that I actually own not one but 2 palettes that could dupe 80% of this palette. So I'm gonna share that with you guys. You let me know after you watch the swatches and the look. This is the look I have created with the dupes. Can you tell which one has a Sunrise palette and which one has a $15 dupe on it? Excuse the liner, okay? I haven't done a liner in 3 months. I'm doing a liner after 3 months. I wasn't very good with it to begin with, but with a 3-month break, so excuse the liner, okay? But can you tell which one has a Sunrise palette and which one has the $15 dupe? Okay, so take your time. If you want to pause the video, go down and write down which one you think has the Sunrise, which one you think has the dupe palette. Then let me know in the comments, just for fun. So as I mentioned, there are 2 dupes. This palette retails for $65. The first dupe actually costs exactly the same amount, so it is not going to save you money. But if you are a makeup lover, you might already have it in your collection. And the first dupe is, of course, the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. Now, at first glance, if you look at these palettes side by side, you might not think that they're dupes, but they actually are. And they're not direct dupes. Of course, there are shadows in the Sunrise palette that cannot be duped, but there are extra shadows in Sunset palette as well that are not present in the Sunrise palette, and I actually feel that that kind of makes up for the gap. The second dupe is actually a duplicate of the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette, which is the Athena palette that is available for $15 from Bad Habit, and I had purchased it a while ago to do kind of a side-by-side comparison with the Huda Beauty palette. I don't think I ever did that. So, I was like, since I have both the palettes, let me kind of do swatches from both. And when I was creating the look, I felt like, when you're presenting a dupe, it should be significantly cheaper. That's just my thought. What's the point of having a palette which costs the same unless you already own it? That was my point about the Desert Dusk palette. So I have used the Bad Habit Athena palette in creating the look because I wanted to show you how you can still play with the shadows. So let's get into the swatches first. Okay, so the first row is Poppy, Citrine, Phlox, Awakening, and Laurel. So let me straight out say that there is no dupe for Citrine in either of these palettes. For Poppy, the dupes are Prize from the Athena palette and Turkish Delight from the Desert Dusk. I will always be mentioning the dupes from the Athena palette first and then from the Desert Dusk. For Phlox, initially I thought kind of the Prize and Turkish Delight, were in between Poppy and Phlox. But when I was doing the eye makeup, I realized that I have to mix Prize and Divine or Turkish Delight and Blood Moon to get Phlox. For Awakening, the dupe is either Medusa or Angelic. For Laurel, the dupes are either Fierce or Nefertiti. Now the second row is Aster, Glory, Azalea, Morgan, and Agate. Now if you just look at Epic and Twilight, they are dupes, but Aster has more of a maroon background. So if you actually mix Amethyst and Twilight or Justice and Epic, you get a closer dupe for Aster. For Glory, there is no direct dupe again. You have to mix Justice and Power or Amethyst and Saffron to get Glory. For Azalea, you can get an almost exact match with Divine plus Cunning or Blood Moon plus Celestial. Now Morgan is a little bit brighter, but similar colors from the other 2 palettes are Valor and Eden, which are slightly paler. I think I like Morgan a slight bit better because it's warmer. Again, for Agate, we have no exact match here. And the final row in the Sunrise palette is Clove, Carnelian, Jasper, Morning, and the Spring. Now Clove is a deep maroon. To get the closest match, we have to mix Power and Clever or Saffron and Oud. For Carnelian, we have no exact match. For Jasper, the dupes are Lure or Blazing, and I actually like Lure or Blazing better because they're warmer. For Morning, in my look, I use Purity from Tina palette, and Desert Sound is similar to that, but again, I like Morning better because it is warmer. And for Day Spring, again, we have no exact match in either of these palettes because these palettes don't have that like bronzy golden. So there you are. Now we have like 4 shadows from the Sunrise palette. Basically the 2 kind of yellow mattes and the 2 golden shimmers that we don't have dupes for. I personally own a lot of golden shadows, and I also own the Subculture palette which has the orangey shadows in them. So for me personally, missing those shadows is not that big a deal. All the other shades are completely dupeable, plus you get some extra matte shades like the deep purple, Amethyst and Justice, and the cool brown which is Truth or Musk. And you also get 2 extra really beautiful shimmers called Wisdom or Royal, which is the purple, and Triumph or Cashmere, which is, I don't know how to describe the shade, okay? Plus you get that additional glitter shadow if you want to count it. You know, I don't want to count it. I don't like it. I won't ever use it, so I don't count it. But you'd get that, you know. So now let's quickly look at the eye look that I have created. Have you guessed by now which eye is which? Have you? Okay, so this eye is actually the Sunrise palette, and this eye is the $15 Athena palette. So let me show you how I created the look. Alright, so here are the 2 palettes we are going to be working with today. Here are the brushes I'll be using, and there are 2 of each. One set for one palette and one set for the other palette. They look a little dirty, but they are not transferring any color. I have cleaned them dry as much as I can. So I'm gonna first start off with Morning on this side. You know, I don't have any eyeshadow base, but I have some concealer. Actually, I have swatches of all the shadows from the Sunrise palette, and I'll try to link the video here somewhere. I'm gonna take Purity in this case. Purity is a little bit more brighter, you can say, paler, but again, on my skin, not that much of a difference, as you can see. I'm taking Morgan and go in my crease. Very pretty shade. Going with Valor here. This is a slightly more pinkish shade, so I'm gonna tap lightly into Lure and then back into Morgan to warm it up a little bit. Okay, now I'm going into Lure from the Athena palette. I'm gonna try and go all over the lid very lightly, just like a base. Going into Jasper here. Lure is slight bit more warmer or more pigmented, you can say, than Jasper. So I need to apply more of Jasper. I'm going to take the smaller fluffy brush and I'm going to use Glory from the Sunrise palette in my outer corner. I'm actually going to repeat this brush on the other side by cleaning it up because this shape I think is slightly different from the other brush I showed you. Where did it go? Oh, there. Because this is more rounder and this is a slightly flatter brush, and I want to get the same effect and not have the shape of the brush affected. Now, as I mentioned during the swatches, for Glory I need to mix Justice and Power. So I'm gonna apply Power first and go over that with a teensy bit of Justice. I want a little bit more of Glory here. I'm gonna take Prize all over my lid first. Then on the inner corner, I'm gonna add Divine on top of it to get the effect of flocks on the switch brushes. I'm gonna take Poppy, For some reason I feel like Poppy is not applying as nicely with my brush. Oh, that Natasha Denona shadows work better when applied with your fingers. So let me do that, and I'm gonna do the same with Prize on the other side. Any shadow works better if you apply it with your fingers, okay? Because it mixes with the oils on your finger. I applied Poppy to only like up to here. I'm gonna take Phlox. I feel like I'm gonna add a teensy bit of Azalea here. I'm gonna take a small brush and apply Laurel in my inner tear duct, and in this case Fierce. For my lower lash line I'm taking Jasper here, Glore. I'm gonna apply a little bit of Clove on the very outer corner to darken that up. In this case I'm to mix Power and Clever to get that effect. Alright, let me show this to you guys. And then do some liner and mascara. The palette on its own, okay, now is gorgeous. I think the $65 price point is amazing. This palette I think has, you know, the nice formula she has in the bigger palettes. If you don't own any of these colors, or if you don't own either of these two palettes that I just mentioned, then I would say totally go for it. It's an amazing palette. But as I told you guys, you know, this palette gives you some additional shimmer. It gives you some additional darker, cooler browns. So if you feel like, you know, you need to have those in your collection, you know, pick up this palette, the Desert Dusk palette instead, or pick up the Bad Habit palette from, I don't know if they're still on Hush or not. I tried to open the Hush app earlier and it wouldn't open for me, so I don't know what's going on over there. As I said, I've been completely out of touch with the whole makeup thing for 3 months. So if you guys know, let me know so in the comments below. So that's my thought. Let me know what you guys think about the dupe. If you like it, if you didn't think it was a good enough dupe, if you think that it has to have the yellow tones to be considered a dupe, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.